welcome or welcome back to my channel, Hissy Books. I'm Camila and today I'm reacting to the Jhalak Prize Longlist. And I swear this is the last Longlist reaction in a while because this is the last kind of prize of the season that I'm following. The next few prizes that I'm kind of interested in anyway. I think the Longlist come out in like July, August, September, October, so much later in the year. But I really like the Jhalak Prize. I discovered it in, I want to say 2020 maybe, or 2021. They're very active on Twitter and I just really appreciate like the kind of books that they promote. So this prize was actually, it's a British prize, so obviously many people may not know about it. But this was started in, I want to say 2017, so 5 years ago, to promote and celebrate BAM authors from Britain. So you have to have either be British or be resident here. And BAM, for those who don't know, is Black, Asian, and minority ethnic, something like that. Anyway, it's a bizarre word, but it's one of the words they use here. So they just released their long list today on March 15th. So I'm going to be looking at the long list. Yes, they do have two long lists actually. They have the main one, which is just kind of all books. And that can include any genre, so there's non-fiction, fiction, poetry, graphic novel, like anything. And in 2020 they started a children and YA prize, separate prize as well. So we'll look at the two lists and we'll see. So it only has 12 books, which is shorter than the other prizes, which is good. At first glance, I only know two of these books, I think, from their main list, and that's because they were both long listed or shortlisted. Anyway, for the Costa Prize when I did that. So the two books that I know about, the first one is Consumed, a sister's story by Arifa Akbar. I believe that, yeah, this is a memoir. It says, when Arifa Akbar discovered that her sister had fallen seriously ill, she assumed there would be a brief spell in hospital and then she'd be home. But this was not to be. It was not until the day before she died that the family discovered she was suffering from tuberculosis. Conceiving a story of sisterhood grief, the redemptive power of art, and the strange mythologies that surround tuberculosis. It kind of interested me. I remember, I'm not sure I really want to read it, but if it had kind of been, if I had one, I would have tried to read it, definitely. And the second one I heard about before, which was also shortlisted during the Costa Award. Oh yeah, it was for poetry. A Blood Condition by Kayo Chingonyi. His remarkable second collection follows the course of a blood condition as it finds its way to deeply personal grounds. From the banks of the Zambezi River to London and Leeds, these poems speak to how distance in time, nations and history can collapse within a body. That sounds very, like, I like the themes that is kind of trying to touch on. Next we have Things We Do Not Tell the People We Love by Huma Qureshi. I'm sorry, I must have mispronounced that. A breathtaking collection of stories about our most intimate relationships, the misunderstanding between families, the silences between friends, and the dissonance between lovers. Set between the blossoming countryside of England, the south of France and Tuscany, and the bustling cities of London and Lahore, Things We Do Not Tell the People We Love shines a light on the parts of ourselves we rarely reveal. Ooh, this is interesting. It looks like it might be a collection of short stories, which I'm also not a huge fan of, but I like the sound of it. Next we have Brown Baby, a memoir of race, family, and home by Nikesh Shukla. How do you find hope and even joy in a world that is prejudiced, sexist, and facing climate crisis? How do you prepare your children for it, but also fill them with the boundlessness and eccentricity that they deserve and that life has to offer? In Brown Baby, Nikesh Shukla, author of the best-selling The Good Immigrant, explores themes of sexism, feminism, parenting, and our shifting ideas of home. This memoir, by turns heart-wrenching, hilariously funny, and intensely relatable, is dedicated to the author's two young daughters and served as an act of remembrance to their grandmother they never had a chance to meet. That sounds nice. It's very, very non-fiction heavy, I feel, up to now. But yeah. The Con, a Times and Sunday Times crime novel of the year. What? How is that part of the title? By Saima Mir. Successful London lawyer Jia Khan is a long way from the northern streets she knew as a child, where her father Akbar Khan led the Pakistani community and ran the local organized crime syndicate. Often his Jirga rule, the old way, was violent and bloody, but it was always justice of a kind. Now with her father murdered, Jia must return to take his place. Justice needs to be restored, and Jia is about to discover that justice always comes at a cost. Alright, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It doesn't really, it's crime fiction. I'm not a huge fan of crime fiction. So yeah, kind of non-fussed about it. Next we have Things I Have Withheld by K. Miller. This is also non-fiction because it says it was shortlisted for the Bailey Gifford Prize. In this astonishing collection of essays, the award-winning poet and novelist K. Miller explored a silence in which so many important things are kept. He examines the experience of discrimination through the silence and what it means to breach it. And he considers the histories our bodies inherit, the crimes that haunt them, and how meaning can shift as we move throughout the world, variously assuming privilege or victimhood. Alright. I really like, obviously this is like focusing on BAM writers, so it makes sense, like all these themes are coming out and I'm very interested in them. But it's quite heavy up to now, very heavy. Alright. Next is Honorifics by Cynthia Miller. And it just says poetry. There's nothing else about it. Okay, I don't have a summary for it. Like the cover. I always like something with flowers. I think it's pretty. But okay. Moving on. The Roles We Play by Sabba Khan. Tutors of today's British Pakistani diaspora trace their origin back to Mirpur in Azad Kashmir, a district that saw mass displacement and migration when it was submerged by the waters of a dam built after partition. Sabba Khan's debut graphic memoir explores what identity, belonging, and memory mean for her and her family against the backdrop of this history. Ooh, okay. This is the one that, as of now, has really pulled my attention the most, and I'm kind of very excited about the fact that this graphic novel, I think like is exploring this like in a slightly different way, and I don't think I've seen a graphic novel like that before. Like I've not read that many graphic novels, but I've not seen one that kind of explores these themes, so I'm kind of very keen with that one. And it's Keeping the House by Tice. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. Cabbages, the Turkish variety, are prized for their enlarged leaf bud. That's where we put the heroin. There's a stash of heroin waiting to be imported, and no one seems sure what to do with it. But Ayla's a gardener, and she has a plan. Offering a fresh and funny take on the machinery of the North London heroin trade, Keeping the House lifts the lid on a covert world thriving just beneath notice, not only in McDonald's queues and men's clubs, but in spotless living rooms and whispering kitchens. Spanning 3 generations, this is a story of a woman who kept their family and their family business afloat, juggling everything from police surveillance to trickery questions of community, belonging, and love. Okay, interesting. Not a big fan of like drugs themes books, but yeah. Next we have Like a Tree Walking by Vahni Capildeo. So it seems to be poetry. Taking its title from the story of sight miraculously regained, this book draws on Capildeo's interest in eco-poetics and silence. Many pieces originate in specific places, from nocturnes and lullabies in hilly port of Spain to stillness exercises recording micro-environments, emotional and oral, around English trees. These journeys offer a configuration of the political that makes a space for new kinds of address, declaration, and relation. That is a confusing blurb about this book, I'm not gonna lie. Next we have Gay Bar, Why We Went Out by Jeremy Atherton Lin. Neon lights in dark rooms, pumping house and drag queens on counters, first kisses, last orders. The gay bar has long been a place of joy, solidarity, and sexual expression. Whatever you're seeing, whatever you're seeking. But in urban centers around the world, they are closing. With this cultural demolition, we must remember to ask, who were the patrons? What did the bars mean to them? And where can we go now? Gay bars are sparkling richly individual history of the gay bars of London, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, focusing on the post-AIDS crisis years of the 1990s to the present day. It is also the story of Jeremy Atherton Lin's own experience as a gay man and the lifelong romance that began one restless night in Soho. In prose both playful and challenging, he immerses his reader in a unique experience of a life lived in and out of these spaces. Ooh, that's one that I'm kind of very interested in. I feel like that's one that I would definitely like be learning something like while reading this, especially because I went to like a talk a couple years ago and they were mentioning how the gay and lesbian bars were all closing in London and like how important those spaces had been. Obviously wasn't aware of it, but it's very an interesting topic. So yeah, maybe a lot of maybes in this list. Next is Somebody Loves You by Mona Arshi. A teacher asked me a question and I opened my mouth as a sort of formality, but closed it softly, knowing with perfect certainty that nothing would ever come out again. Ruby gives up talking at a young age. Her mother isn't always there to notice. She comes and goes and goes and comes until one day she doesn't. Silence becomes Ruby's refuge, sheltering her from the weather of her mother's mental illness and a pressurized suburban atmosphere. Plungent, deft, and sparkling with wry humor, Somebody Loves You is a moving exploration of how we choose or refuse to tell the stories that shape us. Oh, that sounds really cool, and I love the cover. I think it's a really lovely cover. And that's it. Oh, right, yeah, that's it. That's all. That's the 12 books. All right, so I think that's an exciting list. I think it's really, really heavy on the nonfiction. There's only one that's really, and now I've forgotten. Oh, I think it's The Roles We Play. Yeah, that's the one I think that attracted me the most. All the other ones are like, sounds interesting. I'm not totally sure. I feel like there's a lot less fiction that's like pulling me in this year's long list, but still an exciting list. And now I'm not going to go through all the summaries, but let's just look quickly at the children in YA long list. So there's also 12. Oh, okay. So there's A Crossing by Manjit Man, which was nominated. Oh, did it win? Yeah, it actually won the children's kind of Costa Book Awards 2021, and I was really interested in reading it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. But I'm glad to see it here actually. So it's so cool. And there's also Ace of Spades by Farida Abikemide, which I had put on my TBR last year after hearing her talk at the Edinburgh Book Festival. It sounded like a really interesting book, and loads of people that I know have read it recently and said that like they really enjoyed it. And yeah, so that's exciting. A lot of the other ones seem to be because they're like picture books and all kinds. Just from like the covers, there's another 3 that kind of are pulling my attention a little bit. There's The Sound of Everything. I think it's like a cool cover, but then there's no summary. It's all just quotes from authors, so I have no idea what this is about. Next is Lionheart Girl by Yaba Badoe. Born into a family of West African witches, Sheba is terrified of her mother who is deadly dangerous. But like mother, like daughter, magic runs through her blood, and Sheba discovers powers of her own. Ooh, okay, that sounds cool. I like it. Like mixing it with fantasy. And the last one is, I really like the cover for Rumeisa Fairy Tale by Radia Hafiza. But I don't know if it's like, this is more like middle grade. Step into a once upon a time where anything is possible. Radia Hafiza's enchanting and funny debut weaves together 3 stories, spinning the classic fairy tale to show that anyone can be a hero. Oh, that sounds fun. Oh, that's a really cool list actually with for the children in YA list. Alright, that's it. I don't really have plans on reading this list, and you know how I have my plate full with the Women's Prize and the International Booker list, and I was so excited about that. So I'll definitely like be focusing on that. The shortlist for this comes out in April as well, and I'll keep an eye out, maybe do another reaction, maybe see if potentially that interests me more, maybe I want to read some of them. But for now, I just wanted to react to it, and also I think it's a great way to kind of bring attention to these books, which is great because I feel like I've discovered some new authors, or new to me anyway, and I'll keep an eye out, definitely. Let me know if you read any of these books and if you recommend any of them, because I think it'd be cool to get like a more personal recommendation. But yeah, it was just fun because I do enjoy this prize, and it's great to bring it highlights the work and books of Black authors and authors of color from Britain. So I had to kind of participate, and I love that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I see you back. Bye.